Hello Munchkins and viewers alike, it's me Munchie and welcome to a Munchie Talk discussion Q&A video. I asked you guys on my YouTube comments if you guys want to leave me anything pet related that I could answer for you guys today. So what prompted me to make this video, you might be wondering? Well, I used to make Q&As all the time back when I first started on YouTube, just so you guys can get a sense of my personality and stuff. Here I feel like a Q&A would be good because I have a lot of people asking me constantly on YouTube comments whether or not this is appropriate or if I could give them advice and things like that. And I really do want to make educational videos, but whenever I make an educational video or want to set one up, I always hate it. And then I just send people to other people's channels like Aaron's Animals or Victoria Rachel. I'm like, go there. But people do want to see them from me, so at least I can answer some of your guys' questions and maybe give my own personal feedback. So let's get started. There's way too many questions here for me to answer, and there's some that are just not appropriate for this video, so I will not be including them, and there might be some repeats. So we will get through the majority of them, and then maybe in the future I'll open this back up again for a question video. So to get through this video very quickly, if I can, I am not going to pronounce anybody's name. You will see their comment here on the screen, but I will say the question and then answer. So first one is, why is clean and cozy bad for guinea pigs? It's not necessarily bad for guinea pigs. That is a very interesting question. Paper is just not great when it comes to the absorption of ammonia. Usually for guinea pigs, you would want to have pine bedding that has been kiln dried or aspen, but I found aspen to be way too abrasive on their little feet and could cause cuts and soreness and other irritations. Guinea pigs do well on fleece and fleece that is lined with protective absorbent paddings in there, or just with layers and layers of dog pads underneath fleece. So technically you want to be piling up the fleece so it can absorb, so they're not walking on their own urine. So that's why clean and cozy might not be as great, because it's not really good when it comes to absorption and keeping the ammonia out versus, for instance, wood and other methods. What are the biggest differences from having a dwarf versus Syrian? Besides the size and the energy levels and the way you handle them, much different. So we will talk about size just for this one here. For Syrians, they are solitary animals and they have such a high drive, and they're so much bigger than dwarfs in size comparison. And so for them, they just need a whole lot more. They need a lot more food. They need a lot more territory. Even though they might not be the fastest hamster in the world, they have the biggest amounts of energy levels. But if we're talking, for instance, about a Roborovski hamster, which is one of the world's fastest hamsters, they are very speedy. They can cover a wide territory range, but if you observe both of them at the same time, you can notice that your Syrian will probably try to escape several thousands of times and or try to climb up high and just has this bigger range of needs, versus if you see a Roborovski or a dwarf, they really like to burrow underground. That's where they spend the majority of their time. But Syrians want to be above, active, up high, perched, looking out, climbing on stuff. I don't really see a lot of Syrians dig except for when they are about to go to bed, when they're making a nest and things like that. So hopefully you can get a little bit more of a better understanding of the differences there. Just briefly, by the way, just want to let you guys know, I'm not going to be answering in full-fledged details every single question. I'll try to at least answer some good things about a question, but always, guys, do your research, and I'm not the only one you should be going to. So just want to say that. My daughter wants gerbils. I wanted to know what size enclosure for 2 gerbils is appropriate and what's a good brand for food for them. So basically for the food, you can feed them anything that is similar to hamsters because they have such a similar diet, but you gotta understand that gerbils, they should not be having treats that have dairy in them because their stomachs cannot handle dairy products as well as, say, for instance, hamsters. So that's the only thing I want to note for you guys out there. But basically what I feed the gerbils here at the rescue is Higgins, Sunburst, and or the Garden Blend formula and Missouri Rat and Mouse Lab Locks. And when it comes to 2 gerbils, I just want to say there is a scale for minimum and max. Minimum will be at the very end of the scale here. Max will be at the very top. So I tend to talk about minimum, but please, for anybody out there, understand there is going to be kind of like an average go-to cage size enclosure, but I'm always going to be talking about the minimum because we want people to understand where you should be starting and where you probably should get to. So everybody should understand what a minimum is. So minimum for gerbils is a 20-gallon long or high enclosure with a tank top. topper. Now I say this because there's two different styles of the 20-gallon, and so there is cages out there on, say for instance Etsy, that people actually make for tank toppers. Now if you are going to be for a minimum 20-gallon long for 2 gerbils, you got to make sure if you do have a tank topper and it does have mesh flooring to cover part of that mesh flooring. Now the tank topper up top is the ventilation, so you don't want to be covering all of the wire flooring, but gerbils are not as susceptible to getting, for instance, bubble foot as, say for instance, hamsters. But they are still known to get it, you just don't see it often. And also their tails go through the grids, but I've never actually seen a gerbil break their tail before on a grid enclosure tank topper, if you get what I'm saying. But I am throwing out all the information for you guys to take in there and understand what you may or may not want for your gerbils. But 20 gallons are bare minimum. I like to at least keep gerbils as a recommendation in a 40-gallon. It would be even better if it was a 40-gallon breeder tank with a tank topper. But for right now, I do not have that at the rescue, and these guys are in my rescue care, so we can give them temporary shelter and then send them on their way to a better home in the future. So that's why I don't go out and buy like the best recommended cages. I get the cages that will do the job while still providing what they need, and also shuffling them around until they figure out which cage or enclosure that they like. But for gerbils, you can start out with 20 gallons with a tank topper. What is the minimum height for a hammy? So this is actually a really good question, because a lot of people got confused when I did the introduction to Belle's story here on YouTube, where I said it was a dwarf style enclosure, and people were giving me weird vibes going, wait, no, this is not a dwarf style enclosure. What are you talking about? So let me just clarify here what is and isn't when it comes to height. So for dwarfs, you guys know dwarfs are not the climbing hamster. That is Syrian. Syrians love climbing, they love perching, but you don't want to create too much of a height to the point where they start falling off of things and injuring themselves from that high up. And you want to make sure that if you do have a cage that, say for instance like the Preview 520 cage, you want to have at least ledges and things that they can climb on so they don't fall as often. So for dwarfs, you can have a smaller height, say for instance like a 13 or 14 inches tall bin, versus Syrians who should really be getting 17 inches or higher for height. That way you can add bigger hides, bigger stuff, you can add more ledges in there so they can safely crawl around, and you can pile up the bedding in something as big as that. But at the same time, if you keep piling up the bedding, you are causing the hamster to get closer and closer to the top of the lid, which can actually cause some problems because your hamster knows, because they're very smart, where the opening is, and every time you open up the enclosure and interact with them, they're gonna think, oh hey, that's the way I can get out if I want more outside of my cage time, right? Yeah, this is how it works. So you just gotta understand, Syrians do need a bigger height versus dwarfs, that you could still have a shallow bin and they'd be completely fine as long as you're still giving them plenty of hides, tunnels, and things to interact with. So there is height requirements, and those are my requirements for my rescue. You want to make sure Syrians are not in 14 or 13 inch height bins, because that's only above a foot, and they will chew through your enclosure, especially if you have a bin. They will chew through it very quickly. We've learned that the hard way. Why did you get into rescuing, fostering rodents, and why don't you foster guinea pigs besides Butters and Rumble, of course? Well, I can just answer this right off the bat. Guinea pigs are so much care. They take up so much room, and for me, I grew up with caged animals versus guinea pigs, which I never grew up with until I started working at a pet store, and then I started learning more and more about guinea pigs and finding out that my friends had guinea pigs. I learned from them, but I just don't want to do guinea pigs because of the space requirement and the time and the energy it takes to take care of them all. There is wonderful rescues out there like Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue and Scott's Animals. They are wonderful. Go check them out on YouTube. Links might be down below if I remember to put them in my About Me section. Those people are dedicated because that's their go-to animal. For me, because hamsters, gerbils, and mice are all the same when it comes to their care. You can provide them in tanks, you can provide them with the same chew toys, the same types of food, things like that. It makes rescuing and rehabilitating them so much easier when they're all kind of using the same thing. So you can just keep on reusing, discarding, getting new stuff. Guinea pigs are so much different. They're fiber-based diets and they eat a bunch of hay, and they are bigger, smaller mammals. If that makes sense. But when it comes to rescuing and fostering rodents, I actually started off with fostering cats. And I got into hamsters thanks to Hopping Hammy and Hammy Lux, back in the day, back in 2017, that re-sparked my hamster obsession, and I got hamsters, and I thought to myself, wow, there really isn't a lot of rescues around here. So I had the fun idea after fostering my last cat, Ollie, which turned into, where are you? That one turned into a little foster fail here. Hey, shout out to you, bud. Hi. Yeah. Anyways, after fostering him, I was like, I'm gonna try fostering hamsters and seeing how that goes. And I loved it. I loved it so much. It was so much fun. And so that's kind of where it started. My hamster recently died. I was wondering how you would cope with that. I only had it for about 1.5 months, but I was very emotionally attached to it. I spent all my Christmas money and allowance on her. And thank you for all you do, Munchie. Love you, not in a weird way, no problem. So this is just my philosophy. This is not anybody else's philosophy, but for me, yes, it is absolutely sad. I am depressed for a while. I have watched and put to sleep my animals when they were at the end of life and suffering, and it has not been fun at all. But for me and the way I see that as one life ending is another life given a chance at a better home. So for instance, whenever we have one pass at the rescue, that's always an opportunity to help out another one in need, because that space is being open for another animal. And this is kind of like how rescues run too, where unfortunately if an animal dies in their care, they mourn for the animal, they feel really bad, but they at least cared enough for the animal to have them in their care. And now it's time for another animal to hopefully rescue, save, and give that amount of love and care and compassion to that animal like it did before. And that's how I keep going, because I know there's other people out there that when an animal passes on, it's just done for them. It's ruined, the experience is ruined, they don't think they're ever gonna love another animal. Or there's people that have that philosophy but then realize about a month or two later, once the emotions are gone and it's just kind of in the past now, you then start to crave that emotional attachment to another animal, such as the one you had before. And so people will kind of jumpstart back up without realizing that, oh, maybe I should have held on to my cage accessories and cage before I gave them away, because now I'm back at it again. And I totally understand. It's just that you want that connection, and I just want to keep helping as many as I can until I end up just burning out from it. Don't burn out! Don't burn out, guys. Just don't burn out. But rescues, they tend to burn out. You need to give yourself breaks and or life changes. And unfortunately, you might be going in a completely different direction because of what's happened. So just letting you know out there, there's always a possibility that my life may change and I might not be doing this past a certain point. Hey, let's not think about that, because that would make everybody depressed, not knowing what is going to be happening in the future. Not anything soon. I'm just saying, like, you can't just expect me to do this forever. What's your dream hamster breed to own? Dream hamster breed? I mean, we basically have all the breeds except for a Chinese hamster. So I guess maybe my dream hamster breed would to be able to have a Chinese hamster at the rescue? Question mark? Because it's so rare. And then our hamster is overweight. Do you have any tips on how to help your hamster lose weight? Yes, you want to make sure you are correctly feeding them the right amounts. For your species of hamster, you should be looking online for that information. And for your hamster, add plenty of different wheels and make sure the wheels are the correct size, because a lot of the times the reason why you get an overweight hamster is they're constantly eating too much, not using or exercising the wheel. Also, the wheel is too small, therefore they are not exercising like they should, and they are eating just maybe around the same amount, but you're not getting their needs addressed. And so that is what you should be doing for our hamsters that we have kind of let them lose weight over time. It's all been the wheel. They were not able to run on their previous wheel, and as soon as we got them a bigger, better wheel, they lost weight. It was a good day. What's your favorite animal out of the 3 hamsters, mice, and guinea pigs? How expensive is it to foster animals? A lot. Guys, I want to say, if you want to foster animals, start off with fostering one and fostering through a rescue. You just gotta remember rescues, depending on which one, will be 16 years with the parents' permission, or you have to be 18 years or older. For my rescue, it's 18 plus years and older. I don't make exceptions. It's just the way it is. You just gotta respect the rescue and their decision, but definitely go through a rescue first, because some rescues will provide enclosures, the accessories, the funding, the vet bills for your specific foster animal, while other rescues will say, okay, we just need some help. If you would like to help, these are our terms and conditions. You would have to provide this, and this. And so you just got to look at everybody's different type of terms and conditions for foster homes. And a lot of the foster animals out there are for cats and dogs, so it's actually kind of rare to find foster homes for small animals, but check your local rescues and shelters. There are foster-based rescues around your area. Also check on Pet Finder, click on the small critters, and you can probably see by clicking on the small critter ads which shelters and rescues are currently having those species of animals that you're looking to foster. And just contact them and see if they're looking for more foster homes. But it's quite expensive. Like, everything is out of pocket or with private donations from you guys. Who is your favorite past foster? Oh no! Oh no! No, okay. I'll have to say recently it's been Stitch. I have not announced Stitch at all. If you guys saw Instagram, you would see Stitch's face. I mean, Stitch is my wallpaper right here, so yeah. I would have to say Stitch. Even though Stitch is currently living a comfortable life in Oregon right now. I should have kept him! Oh, I should have kept him! Oh, I couldn't. His new home really loves him so much, but yeah, my favorite was Stitch. But of course, my favorite animal out of the three you mentioned there was hamsters. Is Critter Care natural paper bedding good for hamsters, and is menu hamster food good for a hamster? I talk about the menu in a recent haul video from Walmart. You're welcome to go check that one out. But for the Critter Care natural paper bedding, yes, it is completely fine to use. Paper bedding is fine. How can you start up a pet rescue? Oh, it's very, very lengthy to get into a conversation like this, but I would recommend checking out the Pipsqueakery because they've been around much longer than I have. I am still kind of getting into my rescue because at first I was mostly just fostering my own animals, and then I decided to open it up for volunteers and people to come in, start helping me out, and it kind of just grew from there. But I would have to get into another conversation about that just at a different time. How can I tell how old my male hamster is? Honestly, it's all estimated. Whenever we get a hamster that somebody says they've had for 6 months, we can just estimate, oh, well, at least most likely pet store that they got them from. If they say they got them very young or baby-like, then it would be around 2 months when the pet store would be supplied those animals. And so we just kind of tack on at least 2 months or maybe even 3 months. And then we just have an estimated range for those animals. It's just really hard to tell until you start noticing some senior signs like thinning of hair, flaky skin, just the natural things you see at end of life care where you start to notice, he's probably reaching the 2-year-old mark, or oh, he's most likely over 2 years old. I mean, you can start to really tell when hamsters slow down at 1.5 years old. How do I handle working at a pet store that only sells critter trail cages when I know these aren't healthy for hamsters to live in? So when I was working at a pet store, I ended up just letting people know, hey, you see this right here? KT dominates the United States market right now. The thing that we do sell that you could look at right now is a 40-gallon breeder tank with the metal lid here, right there. And so I would usually gear people towards a 40-gallon breeder tank, or I would say, hey, do you happen to have any fish tanks at home? Because 55-gallon and 40 gallons and 50-gallon breeder tanks are appropriate. You just gotta remember that 55 gallons are much smaller than 40 and 50-gallon breeder tanks. If they did not want to purchase a tank, I would also just whip out my phone here, if you got your phone at work, and say, check out Amazon, Preview 528 cage. It is lightweight, easy to clean. There is 6 inches of pan depth that you can add bedding to. You can add a bunch of climbing toys for them. Here, check out Night Angel. This is a bunch of really fun, cool Syrian stuff. It's just get them on something else, or bring up pictures of your DIY bin cage, woo! So while I was working at the pet store, I really wanted to make a binder that had all this information on it that could just let people flip through and see. There are some great groups online like Ham Love that have the photo images and the presentation for information. I don't always necessarily agree with some hamster groups because everybody has a different opinion, and that is perfectly okay, especially since I run a rescue with different standards and they see standards differently, especially since a lot of their members are, say for instance, maybe they are from around the world or around the States. But I just wanted to at one point make a binder, grab it in the back, show it to people to present them with, and then hope they take the information and run with it. I want to say mostly all the time they did take the information and it was wonderful, but there was one time when this one woman was such a little bee that she was like, no, my hamster's fine. Why should I upgrade? There's no need to upgrade. It's completely fine. These are fine. And she was the one that said that she had like a bunch of different animals before, and just talking about the conditions they were in sounded awful. So sometimes people just won't listen because they are like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Stop it, it's not fun. I try to at least be encouraging, saying, you might say it's fine, but they might not be thriving. They do, and I then bring in the facts. They do live in the wild. They have wide ranges of territory. They run for 5 to 10 miles a night, depending on the species of animal, and they need a wheel that's big enough so they are comfortable riding on it, because the critter trails that you have your little hammy in will be curving their backs. They're not the appropriate wheel size, and she just didn't care. She just did not care. Hey, my son came in and wants an animal. We are just gonna go through the entire store saying, Mommy, I want that. I want that. Okay, my son gets that hamster. My son gets that mouse. My son gets that parakeet. I mean, there are people like that that are so, we're just going to come in here, treat it like it's an item, not do any research. If my son wants it, we're gonna get it type of people. And it just gets really frustrating. So it's good to have information presented to them to seem like you know what you're talking about. Because if you try to argue with people when you have nothing to present, and you might be stuttering a little bit, because I've stuttered too when working at a pet store, it will be very difficult to convince somebody to listen to you, especially when they already have a wall built up. But if you just kind of chisel at that wall a little bit and try to knock it over, at least let them see through the cracks that, hey, there's some information here maybe you should take into consideration, because you'll have a better life and bond with your hammy. It's an uphill battle. Keep at it, guys. I no longer work in the pet store environment. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be really talking about it, but I would like to. But at the same time, there was a lot of corporate stuff that went on that drove me absolutely nuts that nobody listened to. And there was corrupt people at my store, and it got worse as I went on. And this happened for almost a good half a year, and it sucked. It sucked so much. But yeah, just hang on. It's just, the struggle is so real. How much money do you spend on your foster animals and your personal animals? So I don't just sit down and calculate how much money I spend, but just know that the reoccurring cost is usually food, which can range anywhere from $5 to $10 for, and we're talking about the rescue here, because personal animals I won't get into. But anyways, for the small animals, it's like bedding that is going to be anywhere from, I want to say $15 upwards of like $30 or $40 if you get the really big stuff, especially from Pet Select on Amazon. And there is also chew toys, which can range anywhere from just $1 all the way onwards to about $10. There is hides and chews that sometimes you might have to be replacing because they chew them up too much. So there's that. It can range anywhere from like a couple dollars upward of $20 if you want the good stuff, especially for Syrian use. Then we have wheels, which is usually a one-time purchase, but there is wheels out there that are starting to break. They are starting to run down. The wheels that are still going is the Carolina Storm wheels, so that's an investment, and that's a really big, expensive investment. But if we absolutely need more wheels, that can range anywhere from $15 onwards to $40. And then there is cages. Whether it be preview cages, tanks, or bin cages, that stuff is just a one-time purchase, so I don't really want to include that, but you can at least get a sense of how much we need to spend. And also there's vet bills. People forget a lot about vet bills. If you don't have money set aside for vet bills, then that is a big problem. If I did not have the money set aside for my rescue here, a lot of the hamsters that I had seen this last 4 months, mind you, we did so many vet trips in the last 4 months, not just for hamsters, but for gerbils, for mice, and for guinea pigs, because we had a spay surgery planned for Butters, who is completely healed, and just amazes me that this fixed her problem. Wonderful, and she's still with us, and she's still not adopted yet. It pains me so much knowing that it could range pretty high. Actually, let me show you a vet bill real quick. So I recently took Belle in because Belle had what I could only describe as a seizure or stroke. The total for it, oh my good gravy, is $197.43. See that right there? That is it. And then what included was the exam, which was $41, medical exam, urgent care appointment, so that is a drop off, so that's $15. They briefly put her to sleep, which was $37. The radiograph initial view is $68, so that's the x-rays right there. They had to give her meloxicam, which is oral, so that is a take-home medication she's on, $17.86. The enrofloxacin, which is the antibiotics, they gave us was $15.68, and that is the total. So the most expensive thing there was the x-ray. So the x-ray was $68, and the exam for a pocket pet was $41. Now you guys have a sense of what I do for these guys and how much money I spend on them. them. So yeah, just on one hamster, I spent $200. Where am I getting this money, you may ask? Well, good question. You guys are supporting me here, and I'm running ads, and that is one of the reasons why I can keep doing what I'm doing, is because all my YouTube money goes back into the rescue. And right now, it's really all going towards the vet balance and bills, and also donations are too. So thank you guys so much for watching. It does help. So whenever I have anybody ask me, why do you have so many ads? Or somebody saying, oh my gosh, she's such a sellout, because they like to rile you up, you know, just rile. But it does help out these animals, so I can put it all back into them. So YouTube videos, if you watch them, that's where the money's going. And it also sometimes I hope I can still, you know, support myself too here, but mainly I am taking care of a lot of animals, and that is where the money is coming from. How do you educate a friend with poor hamster care? Slowly, gently, all right? So you take baby steps, you show visuals, you get them excited. You don't want to just be blunt and honest saying, oh my God, your care sucks, because then they get defensive and they're like, whoa, I don't like that. No, you gotta explain your reasoning. Oh, hey, so I saw you had this critter trail cage here, but did you know hamsters, they run 5 to 10 miles at night? And so that's why they need a bigger enclosure. But critter trails, they don't really provide that. And critter trails honestly cost a lot of money because you have to spend more money to buy attachments and tubes. And then if they break, that's even more money. And your parents probably don't even want to spend that much. But I found a really cool YouTuber. Oh, please check her out or him out and see the cages they use. I think it's really cool. They actually show you what it's like using them and stuff and why it's important. Let's watch together. You don't get in on it like that. You don't want to just be mean or aggressive. You want to, even though you in your head you're like cringe, oh, why don't they understand? You want to approach it very gently and make them understand, but make them understand in a good way, not in a, oh my gosh, you're such an idiot, look at this, just look at this, because nobody's gonna look at it if you call them names or are insulting. So just try your best to approach gently. What hamster bedding do you recommend the most based off of price, quantity, and quality? That is hard because there's 3 beddings that are currently used here. There were actually 4 beddings. Haha, I should not forget the Pet Select. I keep forgetting the Pet Select because it's so pricey and it's kind of sometimes hard to get because of how pricey it is. Oh, actually no, I should say 5 because sometimes we do use the wood aspen chips. What I like using right now that is a good value, good price, you get at least maybe anywhere from like 8 to 10 or 11 cage uses out of it, but it's the Pet Select bedding. It is the paper bedding. And it's the white bedding, not the brown bedding. I have noticed, however, with paper beddings that once you put it in and it's all nice and fluffy, when the hamster walks on it, the fluffiness goes really flat. And that is the problem I have with Pet Select. However, when it comes to the quality, I do like it, but it's just the type of bedding can be kind of iffy with me. But I am oh no, I found another bedding that I like more. Never mind, scratch that. Pet Select is number 2 because number 1 is all living things paper bedding because of the way that it just stays its shape. It is really good for making burrows out of. It's very light and fluffy, and when you compact it down, it takes a while at least for it to compact down, unlike KT Clean and Cozy, which, oh my gosh, it just compacts down so quickly. And of course, when it comes to Carefresh paper bedding, that is such a dense bedding that it's already hard and sturdy, and so when you put it in, it's the shape you're always gonna get and it won't condense down any further. And I do like it, but it is very dusty. But anyways, yeah, no, that's the bedding. That's the bedding. All living things at PetSmart. That's probably the only good thing about PetSmart. Their chews, their hides, their bedding. If only they could be good when it comes to caring about their own animals of which they sell. Yeah. Is soft material such as cloth okay for hamsters if you know they won't chew it? It's okay to have hammocks in your hamster's enclosure because some hamsters will not chew on that. However, if you have string attached to those hammocks, they might actually go after that string. So you might actually end up just having a pet bed in there that you can put down. Or if they're okay with the hammock and they won't chew it up, like say for instance my Crackle boy, he loves his hammock. He just sits on it. It's comfortable to him. He doesn't chew it up at all. But Pluto chewed up the strings to one of her donated pineapple hammocks, but still uses the hammock when it's on another hide or when it's just sitting by itself because I can't attach it to the cage anymore. it's kaput. She chewed it all up. But she still likes being inside of it, and she hasn't gone after the hammock at all. Versus my mice, where some mice, they chew up the hammock and destroy it, but they love using them. Or some of my past mice, they're okay with using hammocks and they don't chew it up, and they absolutely love it. Whichever animal you have, if they like to chew, get rid of it. If they don't like to chew it, you can keep it. What wheels are recommended for dwarfs, and are you going to be making more bag cage reviews, hamster care videos in the future? Well, of course I will. Of course, you guys know me. I'm that crazy hamster lady that yells at you guys through the screen, not intentionally at you, but just getting my frustrations out to you guys. And that is what you guys really like. And I've been told that's what kind of differentiates me between other hamster YouTubers. And that's why I guess a lot of people don't really seem to like them either. But it's okay because everybody has a different personality and different preference, and I'm not gonna change. And I think that it's okay to have channels that you like, especially when it comes to bad cage reviews, because I've been told, hey, make good cage reviews. A lot of the times it's really hard to find good cages. Now the KT Super Critter Trail is under 600 square inches of floor space, and I don't want to be getting it until it's honestly on sale, because it's a lot of money right now. It is less so than a Preview 528 when it comes to the pricing and when it comes to the square inches. And at my rescue, I want to be getting more preview cages or cages for Syrian hamsters. I don't need any more dwarf size cages because I can use bin cages for them because it's a lot easier and cheaper. So that is one of the reasons why I'm not even getting it. But I would like to sometimes get good cages. But yes, of course I will. And the wheels I recommend for dwarfs. Well, I don't have a really go-to wheel right now. I guess you could say the Silent Runner is a good wheel. It's a 9-inch wheel, but good dwarf wheels are 8 to 9 inches. 10 inches, yes. 11, you might be pushing it too much. 12, they might not even be able to push the wheel. So like 8 and 9 are good recommended wheels. So I'm out of time now. I hope you guys appreciate what little questions that I did answer. Yes, I talked a lot, but I hope you guys understand that's the point of these videos, is I talk a lot. And if you enjoyed it, hit like to show your support. Comment down below with anything you'd like to say. I will probably go back to this thread here because I probably read through like 15% of the comments. There's so many more comments, and there is a lot of repeat comments in here that I just constantly had to browse through, but I will make some more in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Subscribe if you want to become a part of the Munchkin family, and adios. Bye-bye.